Two top 25 teams this week are making quarterback changes 5 weeks into the season. Going to cover both of those teams and their games with previews and predictions in this video. We also have two huge games Saturday night with Stanford going on the road to take on Notre Dame at South Bend and Ohio State playing Penn State in Happy Valley, a whiteout game. I'm going to cover those games and every other game within the top 25 in this video right now. All right, here we go. Now, just like all of my other preview and prediction videos this season, this video is sponsored by the good people over at betnow.eu. There's a link in the description of this video. Click that link. It'll take you over to their website. They're going to take care of you for all your college football betting needs this season. They've even given me a promo code to let you guys use when you create an account over there. Make sure you use the promo code Uncle Lou. That's one word, all lowercase letters, Uncle Lou, when you create your account, and they're going to give you a 100% bonus on your first deposit. Good luck. All right, here we go. We're going to do this the same way we do every preview and prediction video. We're going to do them in chronological order. Now, just a note in case you're new, I do the SEC previews on Tuesday. Today is Wednesday, so I'm going to do every team within the top 25 today except games involving SEC teams, as I previewed all the SEC teams yesterday on the Tuesday video. We're going to start with the Thursday night game here. Now, there's some good games this week starting on Thursday night, and of course, like I mentioned in the open, running all the way through a couple of huge primetime games Saturday night. Per usual, we've got some nothing games, some okay games, and some really, really good games involving matchups between ranked teams. But we're going to start on Thursday night here. You got North Carolina going on the road to take on the Miami Hurricanes. Miami's one of the teams I mentioned in the open that is changing quarterbacks 4 or 5 weeks into the season. Malik Rozier, a fifth-year senior, I believe, been starting at Miami for several years now. He got yanked in the first half of last week's Miami game and replaced with a highly touted recruit. Is it Nkosi Perry? I'm probably saying his name wrong. In any case, his last name is Perry. Perry came in, threw for a couple of 100 yards, led the Hurricanes to a big win last week. Now, the football Jesus, Mark Richt, the $4 million a year youth pastor, he hasn't come out and officially named a starter for this week's game, but it's been widely reported that Perry was receiving all the first-team reps at practice this week. Most people expect him to get the start at home this week against North Carolina. North Carolina, not a very good team. This game comes on Thursday night, 8 o'clock over on ESPN. Miami's an 18-point favorite in this one. I have a feeling they are going to go with the new kid, Perry. I think Miami wins this game fairly easily. And I like betting Miami at home. Miami plays a lot better at home going back to last year. You look at some of their biggest wins last year, they were at home. Virginia Tech, Notre Dame come to mind. The loss, of course, was on the road at Pittsburgh. They also lost on the road in the ACC championship game and then lost in a bowl game, which was technically a home game. So we got to throw that in there. But Wisconsin was a really good team last year. But in any case, I like Miami in this spot at home, primetime game. All the eyes will be on this game. It's the only game worth watching on Thursday night. I think Miami gets a big win and wins by 3 touchdowns. Take Miami, Lady, 18 points. All right, now we move into the Saturday games here. And we're, like I said, we're going to start at noon and just run through them from there. So you got Syracuse at Clemson. Clemson ranked 3rd. This game comes on noon over on ABC. Clemson is currently a 23.5-point favorite in this one. I like Syracuse this year. They're not a terrible team. Of course, they beat up on Florida State a couple of weeks ago, but as we know and are well aware, Florida State, not a very good team this year. Syracuse does like to throw the ball around. Texas A&M had some success doing that against Clemson earlier in the year. That was a road game for Clemson, though. They get this one at home. This is another team that is changing starting quarterbacks here, week 5 of the season. Clemson's 4-0. They've announced this week that Trevor Lawrence is going to get the start over Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant, of course, led Clemson to an 11-1 regular season record last year, won the ACC championship game to put him at 12-1, and of course then lost in the first round of the playoffs to Alabama. He's been yanked in favor of the freshman, Trevor Lawrence. Now, this is one of the best high school quarterbacks, or best quarterbacks to come out of high school in a long time, in my opinion. He's from the state of Georgia, so I've been following this kid for a while. He's got all the tools. Revenge game for Clemson, right? Last year they lost to this fruit, Syracuse. 23.5 points. You know what? I'm going to roll the dice here. I do like Trevor Lawrence. First start, though, I think he's going to have some nerves early in this game. Wouldn't surprise me at all for him to have a turnover or two. I'm going to take Syracuse in the points in this game. I'm going to say Syracuse can keep this game around the 3-touchdown mark, which, of course, is less than 23.5. Give me the fruit and the 23.5 points. All right, noon over on Fox Sports 1, you got Central Michigan going on the road to take on Michigan State. Michigan State currently ranked 21. They're a 28.5-point favorite in this game. Michigan State's been kind of a disappointing team this year. They had, how many starters they had back from last year? 9, 10, or won 10, 11 games last year. High expectations for Michigan State. They were expected to be one of those teams in the Big Ten East that was going to compete for the division title along with Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. Right now, to me, Michigan State seems like the worst of those 4 teams. This is a home game, but 28.5 points seems like a lot. Central Michigan always likes playing these games against their the bigger in-state schools. I do think Michigan State wins this game. Central Michigan they've struggled this year. Still, 28.5, that's over 4 touchdowns. Give me the Chippewas, I think it is. Yeah, give me Central Michigan in the 28.5. All right, here's a game I'm going to be keeping an eye on. The Georgia game doesn't come on until 3:30 this week, so of these noon games here, this is most likely the one I'm going to spend most of my time watching on Saturday. But you got 12th ranked West Virginia goes on the road to take on 25th ranked Texas Tech. West Virginia's a 3.5-point favorite in this one, 12 o'clock on ESPN2. West Virginia has looked really, really good, particularly on offense with Will Grier. Not a whole lot of people are surprised by that. What has been a surprise to some people is the way West Virginia's defense has played. Now, I don't think they've been tested yet on defense like they'll be tested in this game. It is a road game. West Virginia geographically makes no sense for the Big 12. They have to travel a long way for all of their road games, but particularly this one all the way to Texas. 3.5 points. I definitely think West Virginia is 3.5 points better than Texas Tech. Texas Tech had a pretty good win last week. They're riding high, getting into the poll this week at 25. Will Grier Heisman campaign in full swing. This is one of those games that has the potential for West Virginia to stumble, even though they're the better team here. But I just have a feeling Will Grier finds a way to get it done here on the road. 3.5 points is not a whole lot if you feel like West Virginia is going to win this game. Give me the Mountaineers. I'll lay the 3.5. All right, 3:30 over on ESPNU. Pitt Panthers on the road to face 13th ranked Central Florida. Central Florida is a 13.5-point favorite. This is a big game for Central Florida. You say, why they're playing Pitt? Well, it's their only Power 5 opponent this year. They had North Carolina scheduled a couple of weeks ago, but unfortunately that game had to be canceled due to the hurricane that hit the East Coast. So this is Central Florida's only opportunity to showcase themselves against a Power 5 opponent. Unfortunately, I think for Central Florida, Pitt is not a very good team. When we're getting to the end of the year, even if Central Florida is 12-0, 13-0, I think you're going to be able to find wins in conference for Central Florida that are more impressive to a playoff committee if that's what they're thinking this year as far as trying to get into the playoffs than a win over Pittsburgh would be. 13.5 is not enough points here. Pittsburgh lost to North Carolina last week. North Carolina is not a good team. That's their only win this year was over Pitt. Pitt got blown out by Penn State earlier in the year. I just don't think Pitt is living up to expectations this year, and Central Florida has to make a big point in this game. Central Florida can't afford to go out and win this game by 7 or 10 points. They've got to blow Pitt out. It's their only Power 5 opportunity of the year. Give me Central Florida, lay to 13.5. All right, here's one to keep an eye on, too. Texas at Kansas State. Texas ranked 18th. This game, 3:30 p.m. over on Fox Sports 1. Texas is sitting right now as an 8.5-point favorite in this one. Who is with the real Texas Longhorns? Please stand up. You open your season for the second year in a row with an embarrassing, humiliating, unexplainable, head-scratching, confounding loss to the Turtles of Maryland. Then all you do is go out and beat Southern Cal and last week TCU. So I don't understand. You're back into the top 25 now at 18. Kansas State, not a good team this year. Caught all kinds of hell in the offseason. I didn't think Kansas State was going to be a good team this year, and it turns out I might have been right. about that. I caught a lot of hell from Big 12 fans and Kansas State fans in particular. I think I picked them to win 5 or 6 games this year. They're 2-2, got blown out by Mississippi State, blown out by West Virginia. This is a home game for Kansas State. I wrote Texas off after week 1. I said I would never ride that horse again because they burned me 2 years in a row in that Maryland game. Like a dog returns to his vomit, though. I jumped back on Texas last week. I just had a feeling about that TCU game, and I hit with the Texas pick. Texas fans are probably hoping I pick against them, but I'm going to go with Texas here on the road and lay the 8.5. I think they can win this game by somewhere in the 10 to 14 point range. All right, and then the ABC game at 3:30 this weekend, Baylor at Oklahoma. Oklahoma coming off a moral loss last week, really, right? You know what a moral victory is. A moral victory, you almost win. Oklahoma almost lost against Army, head scratching. Army had the ball 45 minutes in that game. Defense couldn't get off the field for Oklahoma. Offense never really got going either. Kyler Murray saved the day. Baylor at Oklahoma. Baylor hasn't left the state of Texas all season. Now they're 3-1. Lost, I think, to Duke. Is that right? In any case, they're 3-1. This is their first time leaving the state of Texas. Baylor nowhere near as good as Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a 23.5 point favorite, ranked 6th. I got to think Oklahoma comes out in this game with something to prove. They've been catching a lot of heat this week from talking heads on TV, idiots like me on YouTube. People are saying they need to be dropped in the polls and all this kind of stuff. People are questioning Stoops in the defense, which seems like happens every single year. Baylor has the capability to put up some points. Oklahoma's got to play better defense this week. I have a feeling they do. I think Oklahoma bounces back. I like this number, 23.5. I can see them winning this game 45-20, something like that, which would cover. Give me the Land Thieves, lay to 23.5. All right, now here's one here where the line just doesn't seem to make any sense to me. 4:30 over on Fox. Michigan at Northwestern. Michigan ranked 14th. They're a 14-point favorite in this one. This seems off to me. I think Michigan is still being punished by a lot of people for that opening week loss to Notre Dame. Northwestern, though, not a good team, and I was wrong about them. I thought they would be a 7-8 win team. They're not going to get to that. There's no way. I think they're 1-3 on the year. They've lost all 3 of their home games. This is another home game here. I don't see how this is going to matter. Michigan will win this game. If you've watched Michigan over the last couple of weeks, they do not look like the same team we saw opening weekend against Notre Dame. The offense is starting to click. It looks like Jim Harbaugh's West Coast system or whatever it is he's wanting to run there is finally getting some traction. Now, it wasn't against very good competition, but neither is Northwestern. 14 points doesn't seem like enough in this game, even though it's a road game for Michigan. I'm going to take the road favorite in this one and lay to 14. Give me the Wolverines. All right, and then Virginia Tech at Duke. Boy, Virginia Tech got embarrassed last week. For some reason, there's no line on this game yet over on betnow.eu. I'm not sure why. There should be. This game comes on 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Duke, if you're thinking, why am I covering this game in a top 25 video? You're like, there's no way Virginia Tech's still in the top 25 after losing to Old Dominion. You're right, they're not, but guess who is? Duke. Duke cracks the poll at 22. I believe they're undefeated. Virginia Tech has to go on the road, play them there. Was last week a fluke, or is Virginia Tech really that bad? I think it's a combination of the two. I do think it was a fluke. I also think Virginia Tech's not as good as we thought they were. We gave them a lot of credit for a week 1 win over Florida State that we now know was not that impressive of a win. Duke, on the other hand, has looked pretty good this year. You probably haven't watched a whole lot of Duke games if you're not a Duke fan, but they've looked pretty good. I think Duke can win this game at home over Virginia Tech. All right, now we got the 2 real big ones of the week coming up here back-to-back. 7:30 at NBC. Number 7, Stanford goes on the road to play 8th-ranked Notre Dame. Notre Dame coming off a big win last week over Wake Forest. A too close for comfort win the week before that over Vandy. But they've now made a change at quarterback. No more Devin Wimbush with the 40% completion percentage and trying to run around like a chicken with his head cut off. He's gone. In comes Ian Book. Now, he looked good last week in the game against Wake Forest. Big step up in competition this week against Stanford, but it does help, I think, that Notre Dame is at home. This reminds me a whole lot of a game around this time last year between Notre Dame and Southern Cal. A lot of people thought that was going to be a really good game. It was hyped up. It was the game of the week. I believe that was also the same night as an Ohio State-Penn State game. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Get to that in a minute. But anyway, Southern Cal rolled into South Bend, and Notre Dame absolutely obliterated them. I see something similar happening this week to Stanford. I am not buying the Pac-12 this year at all. Stanford has not looked great to me. They should have lost last week to Oregon. Bryce Love has not looked like the same Bryce Love from last year. I'm not impressed with Stanford's quarterback, Costello. I think Notre Dame is the better team here. 5.5 points, not nearly enough. I think this has the potential to be a blowout if Notre Dame's offense can get going, just like last year against Southern Cal. But I definitely think Notre Dame wins this game by more than 5.5. Give me the Golden Domers. All right, and then also at 7:30, this one over on ABC, you got number 4 Ohio State on the road at Penn State. So in both of these big games here, you've got the higher-ranked team having to go on the road here. This one's in Happy Valley. Ohio State 4, Penn State 9. The Buckeyes are a 3.5-point favorite in this one. I feel the opposite way about this one as I do about the Stanford-Notre Dame game. I think the road team is the better team here. I'm no Ohio State fan, and believe me, nothing would make me happier. This game comes on at, 7:30, so it'll be over around 10:30 or 11. Nothing would make me happier than to turn my camera on at 11 o'clock Saturday night and laugh at Ohio State for 5 or 6 minutes. Nothing would make me happier. I don't see it happening. I do like Penn State. I do think Penn State is a good team. This has nothing really to do with me not being a believer in Penn State, and everything with me to do and just thinking that Ohio State is a little bit better. I like their quarterback play with Haskins. Now, Penn State's got a good one, too, in McSorley. Led the Big Ten in passing last year. Penn State's done a pretty good job replacing Saquon Barkley. Honestly, they've done a better job than I thought they would do. I just don't see Penn State winning this game. I do think this has potential to be a really, really good game. It would not shock me at all if this is one of those things where the home team, Penn State, comes out and jumps up to a lead, home crowd going wild, that kind of thing. I just think Ohio State has too many playmakers offensively for Penn State to keep up with right now. Ohio State's got some issues on defense. I do think Penn State will score in this game for a lot. But I think Ohio State makes a play when it matters. Give me the Buckeyes, lay to 3.5. All right, 8:30 on Fox. You got number 20 ranked BYU going on the road to play at Washington, ranked 11. Washington sitting right now as a 17.5-point favorite. This is going to be a good game. BYU's a surprising team to me. They had an historically bad season last year, winning, was it 3 games or something around there. Really turned it around this year. A couple of impressive wins. Washington, of course, on a roll after an opening season loss in a neutral site game against Auburn, a really close game. Washington had a big win last week against, was it Arizona State? Revenge game from the previous season. Washington, a tough place to play, no doubt. 17.5, though. I haven't been all that impressed with Washington's offense this year, and to be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed. I thought Washington's offense would be a lot more dynamic than what we've seen so far this year. Jake Browning's been there forever. He's proven that he can make plays and be a great quarterback. Their running back, is it Myles Gaskin? Is that his name? I believe that's his name. 1,400 yards for 2-3 seasons in a row there. It just seems like something is missing offensively for Washington. I can't put my finger on it. I do think Washington will win this game. It's at home. I can't see them losing. 17.5 seems like a little too much for me, though. Give me the road underdog. I'm going to take the Cougars. All right, and last up today on Fox Sports 1 at 10:30, the late game for you. Number 19 ranked Oregon goes on the road to play a surprisingly good Cal team who cracks the top 25 this week at number 24. The Ducks sit as a 3-point road favorite in this one. Heartbreaking loss for Oregon last week. Devastating loss, really. They controlled that game for the most part. I think they led the entire way until the very end. Head-scratching end to that game with a weird fumble there that didn't make a whole lot of sense in a lot of different ways that I'm not going to get into here. This is going to be a much better game, I think, than what people thought it would be in the offseason, right? I think you looked at this game in the offseason and said, well, Oregon's going to roll into Cal and get this win without a problem. I'm not so sure about that now. Cal has surprised me, and I question whether Oregon can get it turned around after such a heartbreaking loss last week. I really do. They got to go on the road. I'm going to take Cal in the upset here. Give me the 3 points just in case, but I wouldn't be shocked here if Oregon comes out flat and Cal gets a big home win. All right, that's it. That's all the top 25 matchups for this week in college football. So we did the SEC yesterday, did the top 25 today. Tomorrow I'll do this same video, but I'm going to do games including teams that are of interest to me that don't fit into either of the other two categories. So they're not SEC teams, they're not top 25 teams, but they're interesting games for one reason or another. So that'll be uploaded tomorrow around lunchtime. Videos uploaded around lunchtime every single day of the year. Post college football videos year round. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit the thumbs up button. Share this video with your friends. Live show today at 3 in the afternoon. We do the live show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday night at 10 p.m. Saturday morning at 9 a.m. I appreciate you guys watching. And as usual, have a great morning.